what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's an Overreaction Monday show here on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Anwar Richardson. We've got Steve Sarkisian meeting with the media in less than 2 hours, so I can promise you this will not be a marathon edition of this show, but we got a lot of stuff to get into. It's A&M week, and if you're going to go into A&M week, you could probably use a little bit of Rogue Shop. It's been on my brain all morning long. More Rogue Shop. Go to rogueshop.com. They're the sponsor of the Monday Overreaction show, and they're just one of the best partners you can have. Great product, great people. They're Longhorns through and through, bleeding orange on every issue. If you have issues with yourself, anxiety, stress, sleeplessness, they can help you with a myriad of issues. Go check them out. The rogueshop.com website speaks for itself. Let them help you out. Anwar, it's A&M week. Your first thought on a Monday, given that this game's 4 days away, is what?
I think it's, for me, Catch, it's about as must win. And I know must win sounds cliche for, it's every game's like a must win, right? I totally get that, right, Catch? But it goes to the thought that I had on Saturday night. It goes a little bit to the thought that I had on Sunday that I wrote in my column. And I just feel like the margin here, Catch, 9-3 and 8-4, I feel like are so polar opposite feels when it's all said and done. I think if you get to 9-3, you can then tell yourself, like, hey, we finished 9-3. We had the top 10 wins on our resume. Like, and if the committee doesn't let you in, Catch, you almost have the we got screwed kind of thing. Like, look, we still see people on the board. We see people on X, everything, talking about the playoff possibilities. So if Texas doesn't make it, then all of a sudden you have that. And hell, if for some reason you get to 9-3, there may be a conversation about, is there a way to jump to 10, right? And possibly get in when you've got to get in the ACC in the group of 5. I think you feel better at that point. If you go out and win your bowl game, Catch, you could say that's 10 wins. That's 3 double-digit seasons. Arch is playing well. Like, it's a young team. I think you can almost make yourself feel better and pacify yourself about how the season is gone. But I feel like 8-4 is a totally different feeling. I feel like 8-4, we're starting to say, man, now we're talking about going to the Texas Bowl, right? And as you've called them, all these bowl games are basically the NIT of college football at this moment. And so now at 8-4, and you lose to A&M, now it's like, what changes need to be made? What does Sark need to do? Is whose jobs is safe on the staff? Who do they need to get in the portal? Who do they need to get rid of the portal? I just feel like this one game really makes a huge difference as to how we go into the weekend and basically how we look, how we start our off season.
I wish I had a big overreaction on the Overreaction Monday to your point, but I think, and you know me, like I think if anybody watches any of our shows, I like to get the stakes identified before, way in advance, if at all possible, right? And I think it's Monday, and I think establishing the stakes of what Friday is and what's on the line is critically important, because if Texas wins, I think all of the things that you outline become a little bit of reality. It's like, well, our floor, if you're Texas football, is we didn't make the playoffs, but we still won 10 games. We're probably the last team out, and we probably disrupt the entire sport with our circumstances of not making it into the playoffs. You're right. Quite frankly, there's a lot of clutter inside of the fact that you actually didn't accomplish what you want to accomplish. But you get to kind of say, I'm a victim of circumstances to a certain degree. Like, not only did we have to play Ohio State, a game I never scheduled, right? That was done with Mac Brown and DeLoss Dodds many, many moons ago. But we played it first on the road. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, that game got moved around a little bit anyway because of the Longhorns moving.
The Michigan thing, I think, whatever. Yeah.
They weren't even supposed to play at Michigan the way that they did, but it was part of the circumstances that allowed for the votes to go through to make Texas into the SEC a thing and to be able to play when they did. But if they don't win, I think you're exactly right. I think it's important to say if they leave the regular season in there 8-4, that's basically the kind of year that Tom Herman got fired over.
Yeah.
I mean, when that was over with, we were like, well, they won their bowl game and they finished in the top 20. And the decision makers at Texas said, that's not the standard for which we're aiming for. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean that Sark's on a hot seat or anything. But it will mean in a season where they were preseason number one, they would have failed to accomplish the minimum baseline of goals, which Steve Sarkisian has said repeatedly this season. We're a playoff program. I love that he says that because you and I have done these shows for like 10 years and too often it's very hard to get a coach to say, if we don't do this, it's not a success.
You could never get Herman to admit to it.
Well, and then finally at the very end, in the pandemic, he was like, you know what? Catch, you're right. Yeah. Any season where Texas doesn't win a conference championship or get to a major bowl game, that's a disappointment. That's the bar. But he said that in year 4. And quite frankly, he said that when he knew he needed to win and get to one of those games where he might not keep his job. So I think there's a big look. One of the reasons why this game means so much, I think Chad said it's only the 4th or 5th time that these two teams have entered the game ranked in inside the top 20 against each other. I would need to get the stats, the data to get that stat exactly right. But for A&M, they win. They're in the SEC championship game. They've never done that before. And it probably locks them into a possible top 4 seed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot on the line. Now they could get a home playoff game. They'll almost certainly finish in the top 8, no matter what happens. I don't think they would be significantly punished in a loss to Texas unless they absolutely get throttled. And I don't know. I don't even know what that means to fall from 3 outside of hosting a playoff game when you would be, I don't know. Like, I think they're in amazing shape. But they do need this game.
Yes.
But I think Texas needs it worse because if they're sitting at 8-4, the thing that they don't get to do, which you correctly claim that they will if they lose this game, is they get to say we were close.
Yeah.
They get to say, hey, if we don't play that Ohio State game, we're in and we got screwed. And it was actually a pretty good year. We won some games against top 10 teams. Nobody in the country beat 3 top 10 teams. We did. The fine line, the gray area between we did and we didn't is the outcome of this game. So I'm with you. I think you're 100% right.
And Catch, I would love that. I want to have this conversation with you because I've had this conversation, and certain soapboxes that I have, right? And I have been a non-conference schedule soapbox guy for years, Catch.
It's one of your things.
It's one of my things. Like, you could go to non-conference schedule, 1,000-yard running backs. You can somewhere.
We do have our things, don't we?
Yeah. Somewhere in the offseason, I'm going to pull up. You're going to wake up on a Sunday morning and be like, oh, Auburn basically cut and paste and just added in the
it's a yearly content piece, because it keeps being a yearly content piece.
And so my thing has always been, before they joined the SEC, I said I hate this non-conference schedule. I said I do not like it. I think it is you're making your life harder as opposed to just stacking wins. You're doing this other thing, and when Del Conte and I would have our friendly back and forth about it in the Big 12, his thing was, hey, we got to put butts in the seats. Man, it's hard to get people to come out for Kansas State, West Virginia. I mean,
totally fair.
And so he was like, man, we got to schedule these tough games. But then when he went into the SEC, I'm like, hey, Chris, you don't have to do this anymore. People will come here for these games. and they beat themselves at a chest. No, we're Texas. We're going to play these tough games, and then they use that as the reason why they got into the playoffs in 2023. The key to the secret sauce in Alabama, though, Catch, was you won the game. Yeah. So it's easy to do it that way. Now, my question to you is Texas in peril partly because of the Ohio State loss or the Florida loss? And two, when you go to a 9-game conference schedule starting next year, does Texas need to start to really rethink, hey, do we really need 9 conference games plus Ohio State? Do we need 9 conference games plus Michigan? Don't they have like Notre Dame coming up too on the future schedule, Catch? I forget. Yes. They have. Do we need 9 conference games plus Notre Dame? Do they have to, or do they have to? Well, you last thing I'll say, and I'll shut up. You saw this past Saturday all the cupcakes that all these teams were playing before their biggest rivalry game. Does Texas need to say, man, we have to adjust because it's harder on our lives, and having 10 tough games is making it worse?
I think this is a conversation we're going to have in the offseason 100 times because they will have to play Ohio State at home next year. And here we go again. Like the risk and reward of that game, especially when they'll have a more difficult SEC schedule than they've had. You know, it's interesting, if they don't play the Ohio State, they win that game and everything else stays the same. They're 9-2 coming into this game. The stakes are still weirdly the same. In a world where they don't play Ohio State and they're 9 and they still have the losses that they have, the stakes of this game would be even higher, but the difference would be if you win and you're in versus if you win, you get to potentially make the lives of the committee much, much more difficult. I think here's my overreaction that's related to the game that's slightly different than this, because I don't know what else to say other than, yeah, man, we could literally talk for 2 hours about, and we will. That Ohio State game starts getting closer, the weight of the magnitude of what happens if you lose that game and suddenly what you're asking yourself to do in the SEC, better not lose 2. Well, everybody else has had a chance to lose. Don't lose 2. You lose 2, you're out of wiggle room and you're out. And so, yeah, you got to work smarter, not harder, I think, in college football. Like, I think you're right. There's a little bit of the bravado of, but we're Texas and we play these games. It's like, I don't need you to be tougher than everybody else. It'd be nice, but, you know, I'd rather you be smarter. I would rather be the smartest guy in every room versus the most badass guy in every room, because the badass guy is going to probably be losing more than the smartest guy. Whatever's taking place, give me the brains and not the brawn, although the brawn is nice if you can combine the two. I think my concern about this game, that's my overreaction, is I think A&M is just a horrible matchup for Texas. I think what they do, specifically their offense against this Texas defense, I guess if I had to have an overreaction, I don't think this game hinges on Anthony Hill playing, which it looks like he will. Steve Sarkisian pretty emphatic on Saturday that they would have their All-America linebacker back. For the last 4 to 6 games, the weakness of this Texas defense is in the soft spots of the zone. It is behind the linebackers. It is in front of the safeties. You've got Michael Taff, who played better in the third and fourth quarter, but ever since he's come back from that thumb injury, the tackling hasn't quite been as good. He hasn't been the same player. Weirdly, Jelani McDonald, the best version of him was before his injury or his concussion. I think he played pretty well on Saturday, but like we're still watching teams, and Arkansas was able to do this. They're running those crossers with their receivers. They're getting their tight ends. They're working the middle part of the field. Vanderbilt did it. Every team that has played Texas recently has had some success with this, and A&M does it better than all of them. A&M will play 5 tight ends. They'll put 3 or 4 on the field. They will literally work the area that Texas is the weakest in defending. That's their strength. And then when they're not throwing the ball to the tight ends, They're running their receivers on crossing routes. Marcel Reed's getting them the ball, and they're beating man coverage, running into space, making other teams miss them in space. I'm just worried. I don't think A&M's all that good. I don't. Like someone asked earlier if Texas plays A&M's schedule and A&M plays Texas's schedule, do I think A&M's probably 9-2 and Texas is undefeated? Maybe. I still don't know what Texas is on the road if they go at Missouri or at LSU. Like, they didn't win at Florida, so we can't just give them carte blanche benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I tend to think if they're not at Georgia, they're not at Ohio State, they're probably in a better position. And A&M's not winning those games, I don't think, any more than Texas was. It's a team that can be had, but so is Texas. And it's, as we go into this game, the way that A&M wins games offensively is the way that Texas is either losing games or nearly losing games. They have to be so much better in this one specific area, the foundation of their defense, the guts. I'm not worried about the guys interior. They'll do a good job stopping the run. But they got gashed in the run game by Arkansas, and some of that you can put on Anthony Hill, but I'm really not playing, but I'm really concerned about A&M working the middle of the field, getting their receivers the ball, which they specialize in. And I don't trust that this Texas defense anymore is going to just hold teams below 20 points because that's what they do. It's not what they've done for the last month of the season.
No, they haven't. By the way, I love the as simplistic as it is, working smarter, not harder. But that's at the end of the day, you know, I know there's a way to excuse away what happened in the fourth quarter. You can say the backups are in, and so on and so forth. But it's been a 4-game stretch. Like Texas is giving up an average of 35 points a game over the last 4 games. And no matter what.
And the fourth quarters count. We can't say, don't count the fourth quarter against Vanderbilt. Don't count the fourth quarter against Georgia. Don't count the fourth quarter against – what are we doing?
Any of these programs, like you've got to say, like at the end of the day, that's happening. Like it's happening. And so teams are figuring it out. And that's what's we're almost in this bizarre world to a certain degree, Catch, where the offense is seemingly getting better and it's getting better as the seasons went along. And the defense has had to carry the load. And now the offense is like, yo, we got to score 50 today, man.
I know.
He's like, wait.
It is a bizarre world. How did we get here?
It's crazy. Like, we're literally like, man, you got to put up 50 against Arkansas to get out of there with a win. Like, what? Well,
and to your point, I know we got a couple super chats. We'll knock those out in just a second. In fact, I'll ask you this question, and then we'll go to the super chat. So if you have them, send them, and we'll get to the ones with the most money attached to them first. No offense to those of you that want to take over the show for $1.99. I would too if somebody gave me that opportunity. How many points is it going to take on Friday to win this game? The losing team will have what? Which means the winning team has to have one more point than that.
I mean, there's no reason for me to go low on this score. Is there a Catch?
More than 28? That's where I kind of am. I'm like, if they score 31 or 30, does that win the game? And I'm like, maybe, but I don't know that for sure.
I mean, I'm crazy. I 34. I mean, I know it's overreaction Monday, but if I said to that Catch, hey, it probably looks like a 21-17 game, I'm like, what? Based on what? And the thing is, when you start talking about the defense, Catch, it's such a weird conundrum because I feel like the strength of this defense is when they're in attack mode. When they're pinning their ears back and they're saying, you know what, we are just going to disrupt some blankety blank right now. Here we go. Colin Simmons, just do what the hell you do, brother. Ethan Burke, just do what the hell you do, right? I don't give a damn. Go kill that quarterback.
Well, and Anthony Hill being back gives them even more of the ability to, like, if the goal is, you know what, today's not the day for us. But I think this goes against the PK general philosophy.
Yes.
He's very much a let's make them go 12 plays and we have so much talent. They'll make a mistake at some point or will. And you know what? It's exactly what happened against Arkansas on Saturday, right? Arkansas's moving the ball. Texas isn't really making plays, but they're not getting into the end zone. Like Arkansas has to kick field goals early in that game while Texas, to its credit, is scoring touchdowns. If you tell me on Friday that Texas is just able to keep A&M out of the end zone for most of the game, then I love Texas's chances of winning this game. And so I'm kind of like you. I think this Texas defense is at its best when it's just attacking. When they're like, you know what? Whatever happens here, it's not going to happen because we aren't aggressive.
Yeah.
I wonder if he trusts – to do that, you really have to trust the back end of your defense. Yeah. If Michael Taft – because I go back to a couple of the games that Michael Taft missed, and I would watch games and say to myself, well, you know what? Michael Taft makes that tackle. You know what? That guy's in a ton of space in the flat, but Michael Taft, he shows up, he makes that play. I've watched him do it all year long. And then he comes back in the last two games. He's just missing tackles. He's not in places that he needs to be. I'm not going to beat up on Michael Taft because I think he's an exceptional college player. All I'm pointing out is that to pull off what you are suggesting that Texas aggressively do on defense, and I don't know that you're wrong. I'm just saying you need Michael Taft to be on his A game. And Jelani McDonald, you need those safeties to run the field. Yeah. And I don't know that Texas comes into the game with them having the confidence in Taft and McDonald that they'll do that. But maybe that's the risk you have to take. You say, guys, I don't care what's happened the last 2 weeks. If we're going to win this game, you guys have to be two of our best players because we're going to ask a lot of you. Go be those dudes. Those guys combined, that's a junior and a senior. That's a lot of – this isn't like Cade Phillips is on the outside. And by the way, a lot of responsibility on that young man's shoulder going into Saturday because he's either going to get matched up with Casey Concepcion or Mario Craver a lot in that game. And Cade Phillips, to his credit, really played well on Saturday against Arkansas. I was looking at PFF's grading just out of curiosity. I never really know what to think of their grades, but I usually take note if they think somebody is terrible and if they think someone is really good. Beyond that, I don't really put a lot of conclusions.
I'm now more convinced than ever that PFF uses AI to do their grading.
Could be. And I don't even know if
that
would be wrong or right.
They come out with it so fast. Like whatever the deluxe or premium package is for like ChatGPT, like I'm just convinced they like, yo, man, grade this.
Well, and sometimes like I talked to somebody I was having conversations about jack injuries in Pro Football Focus. And the person pointed out that injuries got punished, like got docked on a play because of a Hail Mary incompletion. And like it went against his score that a Hail Mary wasn't completed. And he was like, what's going on? And I was like, you know what? Touche. I don't think any of us knows. But whatever AI or the faceless person at PFF that did the grade, they thought Cade Phillips was pretty good. He was one of the top 5 rated players in that game, considering he really didn't take over that position until the end of the previous game, Georgia of all teams. Everybody, I like it though, because I think every coach and every player in the program's got a lot of pressure on them this week. This does not feel like, okay, Arch, if you don't, now it might be this, like I think Arch has a lot of pressure. I think we're already saying, fellas, y'all going to need to score 4 touchdowns in this game, and we're going to have to get into the 30s to win. Like that, you're already saying that. But I think too often we go into these games at the quarterback position and say, all right, guys, you got to score 30 points. And then the implication is that we're only going to pay attention to the quarterback and the offense, right? I mean, Quinn certainly got some of this. Although, to be fair, more times than not, the Texas defense held up its end of the bargain. But there were times, a couple times last year when they didn't, and the offense has to raise its level of play. And you would tend to give the defense a bit of the benefit of the doubt and say, well, that was just a bad day. They'll be back next week. But that's not who this Texas defense is. It will end the season, and nobody is thinking about them as being one of the best defenses in the country. They were earlier in the season, but they are finishing with a lot of water being taken on the boat. I think it's a huge week for all of those coaches, all of those players, because if they get found out on Friday, I think it will be a big part of the talking point. It won't just be, well, Arch Manning's got to play better. He does. I think we all know that. He's not yet at the levels that I think we think he can eventually get to. He is still, and look, he's still a first-year starting quarterback. This is his first A&M game. This is the first time where these stakes are involved in this game. He could not play well on Saturday, which means the other 21 guys have to pick him up, and that is not who Texas has been this season. They've not been – if Arch isn't going to play well, like really well, this has been a team that more often than not on offense stands around looking at each other like, if he ain't going to do it, who is? You used to be able to count on the defense. Well, while they figure it out, the other team's not breaking 20. But now the pressure's on everybody because – this defense, I think, has a lot to prove going into a game where, look, man, they don't play well against A&M on Friday. It will be the lasting memory of this entire season. Will be potentially Arch was good enough. That wasn't our problem. Our problem was that everything around Arch didn't hold up its end of the bargain. And I think that really is the scary part about this season. And I'll shut up now too, but it is –
no,
it just does feel like we're going to end the year with a lot more questions about this team and talent and personnel than we ever thought would exist at the beginning of the season. And it's a long, convoluted, complicated conversation about why that's what. But winning this game helps alleviate that a lot. And so buckle up. We got 4 days to find out where and how we remember this season.
We'll transition to Catch because this will actually be piggybacking off what you said. When Tracy says, "Hey, which position group on both sides of offense and defense sides of the ball need to perform optimally?" Catch for me, from the offensive standpoint, it goes back to what you were just talking about. Arch. If Arch to me is not, if Arch is not leading this offense is going to be in trouble because he doesn't have a run game to lean on and say to himself, hey, we're just going to hand the ball off 35 times and we're just going to do. Remember, it's like with Texas versus was it Baylor one year when they just like, man, we ain't even throwing the ball anymore.
Last 18 minutes of the game, they were just like, Bijan, Roshan, go do it.
Go do it. Like we ain't even throwing no more. Like that's not an option for them at this point. It's got to be. And look, I thought the offensive line actually played a little bit better, but if he's not a semblance of what we just saw last week, it's a long day. It's a long day at the office. So I think it's got to be Arch, and it's got to be the Arch show. Now, what do you think from the defensive side of the ball? Is it the DBs for you?
I mean, it's that entire back end. I think Anthony Hill has played mostly really well this season. I think when he's been gotten a couple of times, it's usually when he's being asked to play in coverage. So, shocker, the guy who's incredible going forward isn't always incredible. But we also, in the most recent game that he played, an incredible interception dropping.
I was going to say, did he have an interception recently too? So
yeah. It's not that he's incapable. It's that as great as he is, the one area of his game where you can kind of take advantage of him is in this area. So what has Texas done at times this season? Even go back to the Vanderbilt game when that game first started and they're working the middle of the field. At first, it just looked like rotation. Right? It was like, why are they rotating Anthony Hill in and out of the games on the first drive of the game? Why is that guy even coming off the field at all? Because in certain down and distance situations, they've liked the pair of Ty Anthony Smith and Leon Galafal together. That is not something that they've in most recent weeks, they've been playing with more 3 linebacker sets. And Trey Moore played the most amount of snaps. He played 73 snaps on Saturday. And I think second place was 61 or 62. Like, he played a lot. He played the Anthony Hill level of snaps. But all of those guys, they've been trying to find the right partnership to work to defend that area of the field, and they just haven't been able to do it. They just haven't. I can't explain why. I don't know if it's a player's fault. It seems like just that entire group struggles in defending that area of the field, and it is the story of this offensive for A&M against Texas this week. I think it's not the defensive line. I think they'll hold down the point of attack well. I think Texas will get a pass rush. Like, I think that group will do its part. I don't trust Lena LaFau in this game. I don't fully trust Ty Anthony Smith, who won't even play in the first half. I do obviously trust Anthony Hill. I think that's a big piece coming back. I don't trust the safety. I just – that whole back end of the defense can be had. And it's not an issue of – God, they remind me of Liverpool soccer in a way. You wouldn't look at the lineup and go, well, they just don't have any good players. But they're not getting it done. And so why, if the talent itself isn't completely right, well, then you got to go down to they're not being put in the best positions to succeed. And I think Texas sometimes gets caught between go and not go, right? Because I think probably to do what you're talking about, Anwar, which is cut it loose on Saturday, you have to really trust the guys that aren't pinning their ears and coming, that they're going to be in the right place at the right time. And if the other team, and this is where Texas has really struggled in recent weeks, the other team completes a short pass, make it a short game. Nothing wrong with giving up receptions that go for a yard or 2 yards or 3 yards. If a guy catches it at 7 yards, he doesn't make it to 10 yards. Texas's problem in recent weeks is that teams aren't doing anything real sophisticated with them. They're hitting the running backs out in the flat. They're hitting tight ends and receivers, and Texas players aren't making tackles. And so short plays are turning into longer plays, and that scares me against this A&M team, which has the type of speed at receiver that Texas has had in the previous 2 seasons, right? It was make a mistake against Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond when that guy was healthy. And those dudes can go 70 in the blink of an eye and turn the game on its head. These guys against this Texas defense worry me. On offense, Anwar, I thought the Texas wide receiver unit on Saturday was the best it's been all season. I looked at Ryan Wingo, 6 catches, 6 targets, no drops, no consistency issues, just getting the best out of him. I thought Emmett Mosley looked like, honestly, the number 1 receiver on this team. If they need a ball on third, they need someone to catch a ball on 3rd and 12. To me, Mosley's the guy that Arch should be looking for, and I think he's starting to look for that. DeAndre Moore, 3 touchdowns on 3 catches. Parker Livingston plays a big game. All 4 of those guys together made Arch look better instead of the other way around. If you tell me on Friday that the Texas wide receiver group plays as well on Friday against A&M as it did on Saturday against Arkansas, I think Texas will win the game, because that Texas offense will do some real damage if those guys are going to play like that, make plays for their wide receivers or for their quarterback. To me, that's the group. And I know it can be the offensive line. I know we can point to almost anybody. But the thing that I would love to take from Saturday, from the Arkansas game, and put it into the game on Friday against the Aggies, is this group of receivers playing like if they don't catch the ball, they're going to lose their job. And I thought the urgency and the skill that they showed on Saturday was just at different levels. That not necessarily for Ryan Wingo. I'm just talking about as a collective group. That's by far for me the best they've played this season.
Yeah. Can I just give you something just really as good as those thoughts were? Can I just give you something that's totally unscientific? It's
yes.
Totally just abstract. And it is no base of anything that has to do with stats. And I don't know what it is. And I'm going to use this as an extreme.
I have no idea what you're going to say, by the way. I'm on pins and needles over here.
There's a part of me that feels like I don't know if Steve Sarkisian made the deal with the devil or something, but it just seems like everything just falls his way at some point. And it almost seems like the moment you think it's done, it's down, it's out. This is totally unscientific, right? If I go back to the Houston game in 2023, and you're like, man, Texas is about to lose this damn game. And then the craziest bounces in the world happen. They escaped from Houston. TCU happened. K-State happened that year. They go win a Big 12 championship. You're like, how the hell did they do that? And then there's like the last season, and the Vanderbilt game was so close, right? They go in a shootout with Clemson. You're like, damn, they're in a shootout right now. And that happens. They beat Arizona State. Like, all these crazy things happen, right? And they just pull it out. This is the most unscientific thing I'm going to say, man. This seems like the perfect Steve Sarkisian setup. Man, playing against A&M, I don't know how they're going to stop this, or that. And I want to be shocked, and maybe I'm wrong. And again, this is not based on science or stats. I want to be shocked that we're going in here thinking, man, this thing's going to be a shootout. I almost cursed. I don't like to do that in the morning shows. But sometimes people listening in the job and stuff, I don't want their boss to walk by like, hey, mother effer this. And I'm like, this might be the thing where they just go out and ball out. It might be like Oklahoma again, where we just walked in there thinking, man, that's going to be tough. Now, you did it, but everybody else, at least myself, like, man, John Mateer been playing kind of well. Oklahoma's defense is really good. Like, oh, it's going to be tough. And all of a sudden, he just figures out a way. This might just be one of those, when the chips are down, Sark just figures out a way how to pull it out. It might be just something as simple as that.
Maybe.
It's unscientific. I 100% agree on. I admit to that.
I think, when I look at this game, it's a little, I think let's decide who Texas is first, and then let's apply it to A&M. And by the way, just because I don't want to do your dirty Longhorn football edits, we ain't losing to the Aggies, sweater god. Fair enough.
I did put it on the screen.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was still.
When you were talking, you were in the zone, so I put it up there. Well, but it's okay. It's a two.
They got a double shot power of that. Yeah. Okay, so Texas this season, I think, has played two teams that they're just not better than: Ohio State and Georgia.
Yeah.
I thought over the course of the game, like, it just kind of revealed themselves. They're just not as good as those two teams when we saw them play. The next step up of teams would be Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. And I thought against that quality of team, right, there's a gap here. Ohio State and Georgia are different than Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. And forgive me for this, but take the fourth quarter of the Vanderbilt game and just set it aside for a second and look at 7 of the 8 quarters played against Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. That's Texas plus 41 against those two teams if you take out the fourth quarter against Vanderbilt. In the other 7 quarters against the next 2 best teams that they played, Texas pretty emphatically handles Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. The rest of the schedule, I think far too often Texas has played down to its opponent. But in the 4 biggest games of the season, they just weren't good enough against Ohio State and Georgia. And you know what? It happens. It does. And it just so happens that last year they weren't better than those 2 teams either. But they outclassed Oklahoma over 4 quarters. They won that game by 17 points. And then they were up by 24 on Vanderbilt in the second half. Who is A&M? Where in this? Ohio State and Georgia are here. Oklahoma and Vanderbilt are here. Where's A&M in this thing? Because if we think A&M is just as good as Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, I think Texas wins this game at home on Saturday. If they're in this other tier just this year, they're the number 3 team in the country. They're playing really well. Nobody has beaten them. They're closer to Georgia. Then Texas probably loses this game. And if they're somewhere right down the middle, is a coin flip? Is it kind of as simple as that? Like, I just feel like we got to figure out who Texas is. And then but I think they're easy to figure out. Not as good as these two teams, better than these two teams. When they play slop, more times than not, they play like slop. Well, that won't happen against the Aggies. They're not slop. But how good are they?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that's going to be interesting because, we can look at the numbers and we can look at the opponents. It's this tough thing where you can say, and everyone says it, well, A&M, who have they really played, right? But I go back to, well, it's hard to use that argument unless you thought A&M was going to be 11-0. Majority of us thought they were going to be an 8-win team, kind of middle of the pack SEC team. So it's kind of hard to knock the wins of a team that you thought was going to be mediocre and would lose to the Missouris of the world and some of these other programs. So they end up not being that great. But yet, what is A&M? I don't know. And I don't know what does A&M, what do they really need to be in order to defeat Texas? That becomes a thing. And, look, I think if you're a Texas fan, Catch, the one thing you can say is you definitely have been through the fire this season. Like, you have been through the fire. And so you understand, like, to your point, if you competed against Ohio State, if you knocked off Oklahoma, and you've had the Vanderbilt win, and, the biggest – the worst one is really just Florida, if we're just being honest. That's the only one you have to say, what the hell happened? Was that just a bad day in the office? It might be just a Billy Napier thing. Because don't forget Kirby Smart asked Billy, hey, since you got nothing to do, you want to come in here for a week and help me with the game plan for Texas? He's like, sure, I got nothing to do. So, and then all of a sudden, Kirby's just like, we just beat the hell out of teams. So it might be a Billy Napier thing. Styles make fights. I don't know what version it is, but I think if you're Texas, you could say, man, we've been through some fires here. We know what this A&M team looks like. They won't be the best team on our schedule. And Ohio State was the best team on the schedule. But like you said, if there's a tier before that, then you should be able to be competitive and have a good opportunity to win. I probably got like 5 more minutes, Catch, before I got to get out of here.
Yeah, you want to wrap us up and give us some final thoughts? Like I feel it's a good point to start wrapping up because it feels like we're kind of at the back end of trying to determine who the Aggies are. I would just say this will be my final thought, and then I'll let you wrap us up. To the point that you're making, A&M I think Texas has played a lot of games this season against teams like A&M. Teams that could be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They played 4 of those so far this season. They'll play a 5th on Friday. So they've played in these games in every month. They played them on the road. They played them on neutral sites. They played them at home. This is a team that with really good opponents, I think they're experienced. I think one definitive edge that Texas has is that A&M has not played a team as good as Texas since the very early weeks of the season when they get Miami or they get Notre Dame, right? They win that game. There's some controversy involved in that just as it was like a coin flip game that could have gone either way. To their credit, they won it, but Notre Dame's not as talented as Texas. They're not. And since then, they haven't played a team on that level. Mm-hmm. I do think Texas has an advantage coming into this game with these types of games. I think Texas has at least proven who they are in these games. Not Texas A&M. They've not played anybody in the SEC this season that's any good. So this is a real proving ground game for them. But I do think the speed, athleticism, and ferocity with which Texas will be playing at will be different than what A&M has seen, certainly in November, certainly in October. And then I think you have to go way back to early September to say, okay, yeah, no, A&M just played a team that from a talent and ability standpoint is what they'll face when they're in the playoffs or when they play Texas or when they see one of the better teams in the country.
So my closing thought, my parting shot totally somewhat off topic catch. Hey, memo to just any Texas player in the future. If you go and score a touchdown, heck, can you just not throw a ball towards Bevo? Can you just not throw a ball and toss a ball and shoot a shot and hit Bevo? Like, let's not do that. Like, Michael Taft said it best. We celebrate with him. We celebrate in front of him. We don't really throw things at the mascot. Like, I don't know what the hell that was. Maybe that makes me an old man, and that's fine. I'll be able to own it. If I just never see that again, I'll be good. I'll be honest with you.
I'm going to defend LaFowl now more than I've defended him at any point this season. Because here's what I would say. Two things. One, first time he's ever been in the end zone. So the whole act like you've been there before, he's literally never been there before. So there's this component, right? Now, if LaFowl had been on the end zone and we had told him, shoot your shot and hit Bevo, I think he could have tried it 20 times and missed. I think this, hey, but you know what? This is life. Life's all about somehow you ended up a 1 in 100 situation and the 100 hit. I don't think if he did it again, he was like, my new thing is that when I score touchdowns, we're all just going to shoot the ball at Bevo. I just think if they all tried it, I don't know that we would see a player hit Bevo square in the ass.
Dude, we see Bevo when he's around a dog. We don't need that guy. We don't need that dude to get excited, right?
He totally woke up out of the trance that those drugs they had him on.
Those people will swear to you that he's not on any drugs.
Somebody did the Thanos snap, and Bevo was like, whoa, hey, what's going on around here? I'm just saying, you're not wrong, but I'm going to give LaFowl some grace. I think he was excited. I think he lost his head. I thought, what would LeBron James do if he scored a touchdown? I'm going to shoot a hoop. And he hit Bevo.
You give it to Bevo. You put it in front of Bevo. You'll be like, balling. No.
I'm just saying, if you tried to, here's what I need to see asked of LaFowl.
Yeah.
Did you try to hit Bevo? I'm not judging you if you did. I'm actually impressed. Because that was Steph Curry level of shooting from downtown. I'm just saying, I don't know that the linebacker is the spot up 3-pointer that we need to be worried about. But I'm with you. Leave people alone. What we don't need is a stampede. This is one of these where it's just like, hey man, you took a chance. You didn't have to. He did not. Bevo gored somebody. Well, why did that happen? Because somebody shot the ball into his back. And it's like, well, did that have to happen? No, he could have just put the ball down and handed it to the ref. He could have spiked it. He could have done a million things. He chose to hit an animal with it and an animal.
I mean, there's a turnover sword. That's your celebration. They're like, hey, man, I finally get to put this damn thing on the sword today. Anyway, I think
there were people who told LaFowl this weekend, hey, man, I forgive you, but barely.
Michael Taft was one of those guys. He was like, he said it. He was like, yo, that's not what we do. We celebrate we run to Bevo. We won't be throwing things at him. Let's not do that.
Next time LaFowl scores a touchdown, he literally has to walk up slowly and hug Bevo or something. He's got to show him more respect. And I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe take advantage of that. You could become the player who's known for celebrating with Bevo. You could be known for missing tackles.
I've always been fascinated about the Bevo thing. I flinch when they fire the cannons, right? I'm like, oh shoot, what the hell just happened? No matter what. And even though I know it's coming, and I'm on the field, it's such a loud sound that you naturally just a little flinch. I've always just been fascinated that he's just chilling. All the Bevos, they just chill out. It ain't nothing going on around them. It is literally like a rogue shot product.
I was gonna say, they're not giving Bevo the needle. They're giving Bevo the rogue shot. sleeplessness, restlessness, like he's not feeling anxiety at all.
Chilling.
Road
Like,
Shop, the official sponsor of Bevo on game days. All
right,
right,
by the way, they will get pissed off if they. So please, guys, know we're joking. At least I am.
Yes,
it's a joke. I don't want because the people will take care of Bevo. They take real pride in saying we do not drug him and so don't say that. So guys, when you see me on Friday, I don't need you running up on me. Please know these are just jokes.
Yeah, I cut videos sometimes here on YouTube and elsewhere where I'm deeply sarcastic and over the top and a total smartass. Like, it's a thing. We do it. If you're ever in doubt, just know, yep, they're being snarky. Yep, they're being sarcastic. No, they don't actually mean that Bevo was hitting a cartridge from the Rogue Shop. We don't. I promise you. We know. They didn't. He's not on gummies. Well, I don't know that, but I don't know it either. So,
last thing I'm gonna say is this year, it's like I've run into more parents before games who recognize me, and they're like, "Hey, I watch the show all the time," and so I'm always like, because I gotta go my mental Rolodex. Like, did I say anything about this person's kid or not? And I can kind of sometimes judge. And sometimes overall, I feel like 95% of their interactions are good. There might be some people who see me and just ignore me. It's only been like once or twice. I'm like, well, this is kind of awkward. So nonetheless, I know sometimes that people are watching and I'm taking some mental notes. So I know the people who run Bevo, they're watching. And I like, yeah, we just joking around.
The people who run Bevo, though, reach out to Richard and Shar at the Rogue Shop.
Yeah.
They have stuff for pets.
They're gonna need a lot for that. That's a big pet.
It's a big order, but they do have, in the event we don't want the collie, we don't want Reveille trampled this weekend. I'm just saying, rogueshop.com, they got stuff for everybody. And on that note, thanks to Specs for being the sponsor of the live chat. Thanks to everybody who jumps into the comments section. I want early predictions. Jump into the comments section, set the tone for us. A&M's a 2.5-point favorite. Are the Aggies going to cover? You like the Longhorns plus some rare points at home? When does that ever happen? Look, we'll have the coverage all week long leading up to the game on Friday right here on Orange Bloods Live. Chad and I will be back later today doing the post-Steve Sarkisian press conference, the only press conference and availability the E or the players will be involved in all week long. No Thursday press deal. It's Thanksgiving. This is it. So we'll be replying to it, reacting to it, and talking about everything leading up to the game that will ultimately really define how this season is remembered at the end. For Jeff Ketchum and Anwar Richardson, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel as we get closer to 200,000 subscribers here on the channel. Have a blessed day. If we don't see you before Thanksgiving, enjoy some time with the family. Eat that bird. We love you guys watching us. We love the fact that you have ridden shotgun with us all season long. Never think that we take that for granted. We always appreciate it. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Take care.